Hey, Warners, it is another Tuesday, which means it is time for Just the Tip Tuesday. I'm Gina Trimarco with Pivot 10 Results in Carolina Improv Company and one of the women your mother warned you about. And today's tip that I'm bringing you, I'm going to look over to my notes because I want to make sure that I hit everything. We are in such I'm really tired of this word, unprecedented time that we're going through. The uncertainty for businesses is real. It is like functioning in an Abbott and Costello movie. Who's on first, what's on second, and I forget what's on third place. It is a challenge, right? It is a challenge. And I got to admit that the first couple weeks of the pandemic, I was like, this is going to come and go. So I'm just going to like sit back a little bit and try not to panic over it. And then as it seemed to go on, it was obvious that the way we do business had to change. And I have two businesses. I have a brick and mortar theater, which is still closed, and that is an immense challenge, plus a consulting business that we started scaling earlier this year to have a number of trainers, and that requires us to travel all over the country. And so all of that had to change. But first, I kind of like sat back and watched. Um, and then as time went on, I found myself falling into a little bit of kind of a kind of like got a little depressed about it too. Like, what are we going to do here? And but I've managed to stay really busy and continue to stay busy and to continue to innovate. And that might be the improv nature in me. So I want to throw this out to you. I've heard this said a couple times, and there's this fly going through that's making me crazy. It's always real and raw here at Women Your Mother Warned You About. Um, don't let a good pandemic go to waste. So now while I was having, and I'm saying it irreverently, but in the beginning of not doing things, I kind of let that go. And then as it feels like we're starting to build momentum and business is going to start coming back, I'm starting to now have anxiety over, did I take full advantage of this downtime? And so that's my question to you. There's always something. It's a fly. Um, I don't feel like I've been taking the best advantage that I could be. And I joke around about Rachel, who used to be a client of mine, a coaching client. She kills it at time blocking. And I used to pound on her about that, and I could be better at it. But I have really kind of zoned in on, let me make sure that I'm taking the most advantage of this time, because I really don't know when a lot of, like when our theater is going to be open or when our consulting will let us be back on the road again. So how best can I use the time? So first I want to say a really great recommended book is A Beautiful Constraint. If you have not read that book, check that book out. I gave it to a bunch of clients a couple years ago. Rachel reminds me of it often. And it talks about how do we take things that appear to be impediments or roadblocks, and how do we turn that constraint into something beautiful and a new idea and a new innovation. And it's been very helpful to me. And there's actually a section in that book on improv. So, of course, I have some bias to it. Some of the things that I've done that I've zoned in on, we all know that I've been trying to get a book written. I've been spending time actually doing that and writing and taking everyone's advice of just sit down and write. And so I've done that. My approach in selling has been this kind of what I call recycled selling. What's old is new again. Um, keep that phrase in mind, recycled selling, and doing something different. This actually came up on a call. I run a Monday Zoom call for small businesses, and it's a brainstorming and collaboration call. So just sharing ideas and best practices to help people reinvent themselves. So somebody on that call said, what are you doing differently? Do something different in your business. And for me, I take the combination of recycling and doing something different, taking what's old and recycling it into something new. And so then that becomes something different. So some of the things, some of my old school ideas that I've been turning upside down on their head. Well, I mentioned the Facebook. Well, I mentioned the Monday call, and it's also a Facebook group. So That kept me interacting with the business community, and it also helped me brainstorm my own ideas through the help of others through collaboration. This is old school, in my opinion. So I've stayed really committed to running that group every Monday and building my value as well as my network. Um, I pushed out a couple weeks ago the concept of bartering, very old school. Back in the day, people bartered a lot in business to business services, and so I put out there that I was looking for someone to help me with social media marketing for Pivot 10 Results. And someone raised their hand and came, and I said, just want to be clear, I don't have cash flow right now. Are I'm thrilled to have you help me. And we were able to um, come up with a way to trade out what I'm doing with what they're doing. And amazing. Shout out to Carla Fisher and her team for pushing me out of my comfort zone to create my first virtual training conference in a few weeks. Um, I'm calling it the PPP, the Pivot Power Party, a new way to use the PPP to your advantage in case you didn't get one. So that pushed me to take training virtually online. I knew that was something that we needed to be doing. So looking at barter, we're taking our improv classes online. We're looking at taking our shows online. We're looking at bringing in smaller shows to our theater when we are able to open. That will make social distancing easier because an improv ensemble has so many people part of the team, and that you know presents a challenge to keep our team healthy or feeling safe. So really having the emotional intelligence to drill into how they're feeling about coming back. um, and the other reflection that I've had is that I started this business in 2008 during a recession, and I have to constantly remind myself of that because people said I was crazy for opening a business in that kind of economic downturn. And so to me, it was an opportunity to create to create something despite the constraints of that recession. And so now it's about reinvention. So taking these current constraints of a pandemic and turning what's old into something that is new again. So I know this is kind of a longer tip, but I took the time to write things down, thus it got long. So go out there, do something different, take something old, make it new again, and take advantage of this time that maybe you can't be doing things that you normally do. Take advantage of it. So that's my tip for the week. Have an awesome week, everybody.